Greetings, welcome back to Moto Matters. Today it's cold and rainy outside, so we're in the garage doing some carburetor basics. So we'll go through the basic parts of the carburetor, what they do so you can tune your own carbs on your old bikes. Alright, this is a carburetor off a 1980 XT250. And it's a really trick carburetor for today because it has an accelerator pump. So this is an actuator arm that when you twist the throttle, moves the arm down, and a diaphragm's inside here, which then pumps an extra shot of fuel in the carburetor. So on the four-stroke, you don't get bogged right when you give it gas. The newer modern motocross four-strokes with carburetors have these, but no actuator arm, it's all internal. So that's a really trick part for 1980. So most carbs aren't going to have this. Alright, that out of the way, we're gonna take our carburetor bowl off. Normally 4 screws, number 2 screwdriver. We'll get in here and see what we have. When you have a carbureted bike and it will not start, especially if it's been sitting, like over winter or whatnot, most often it just needs cleaned. And when they won't start, almost always, the pilot's jet is clogged. That's a tiny jet that we'll get to here in a second. Alright, pulling the bowl off. That's all my screws. First thing you want to do, inspect your float bowl. This is where all the garbage would live. We look, it's all clean. Here we have a jet for the accelerator pump. So pull that out, screwdriver here, and look through it. Make sure it's clear and clean. You can see through it. If not, I'll blow some compressed air through. Or one I learned, back in the 90s, take a piece of copper wire like this. Copper, because it's softer. And then just poke it through the jet. Make sure you're not using too fat of a wire and damaging the jet. This ends out looks good. I'll lay it off the side. And here's the carburetor. Alright, here we have the pilot screw. This controls off idle to maybe 3,000 RPM. So if it's boggy, maybe too rich, it won't accelerate hard enough, too lean, you normally want to be 2 to 2 3/4 turns out. 2 1/4 is where you want to be. If you're more than 2 turns out, you're too lean on your pilot jet and need to pilot go up on that so you can get your pilot screw back in where she needs to be. But this, is just immediate first quarter throttle, low RPMs. Then here we have our pilot jet. That's the one that gets clogged on you because it's small. This would be quarter throttle to maybe half throttle is where we're going to control. So if you're bogging or too lean there, you want to jet up on this guy. That's what he looks like. So here's how you check him. Hold it up the light and look through. Beautiful, clean, no problem whatsoever. Alright, here we have the main jet. It's a much bigger jet, and the needle, when you turn the throttle, the needle goes down into here. And we're going to pull this out, and we might get the emulsion tube with it. But what I always do to not damage the needle end is twist the throttle to pull the needle up to get it out of the way. Especially when I do this on reassembly, as to not damage the needle tip and the seat. So we got the emulsion tube with the jet. If you want, it's an 8mm. Here we have the 6, you can break them apart. But again, not necessary. Just make sure all the holes are clear and make sure you can see through the jet. We're looking good. This, your main jet, is going to be a half to wide open, especially that 3/4 to wide open. That's your top speed. for proper jetting. And here we have, you can see the needle right here. You watch her go up and down. The needle is adjustable. It's going to range for performance is going to be that quarter throttle to 3/4 throttle right in the middle. So you do fine tuning by moving the clip on your needle to move it up and down. And if you watch the KLX video, you can see me pull the slide in and out with the needle. I'm not going to take this one apart because it's on a fulcrum arm and it's kind of a pain in the butt to get in and out. So that's performance tuning. You always want to get your jet set and then just fine tune with the needle. And you can even go half steps by buying a different needle or getting this really small washer, which some carb kits include, which you give it the half step between the needle clips. But to carburetor repair, this is our float. So, the fuel gets pumped in here, the bowl, and then the floats start floating in the fuel, and then that closes the seat, the needle in the seat, which stops more fuel from going in, so it doesn't overflow. So if your carburetor's just pouring fuel out of the bottom of the bike whenever the gas is on, you have a stuck needle in the seat. And we'll take that apart right now so you can see it. Very small punch. I only use it for this. Put it right there and give it a gentle and we'll pull the pin and lift the float out with the needle. Here's the needle jet. So if your carburetor has no fuel in it in the bowl, even on the bike, you're loosening your screw here to drain it when it's full and no fuel comes out, this is probably stuck up inside the seat and not allowing fuel to come into the bike. Or they get stuck open, which causes it to just pour too much fuel. You gotta make sure your tip is not damaged, they'll get smashed in. So you want a nice cone on that. And then your seat will also get damaged too. When you replace the needle, it comes with a new seat. Just take the screw out, slide it in, there's no ring in there. But this carburetor looks to be in pretty good shape. Okay, we have just choke and carburetor cleaner. You can use that to blast out the jets and blast out the air or the ports and ways where you can't get in to clean. For a really nasty carburetor, I have this chem dip here. No plastic and no rubber O-rings. It'll cause them to swell and ruin them. So you have to completely disassemble the carburetor. You put it in there, dip it in for about an hour or two, take it out, and then rinse it with water to stop the chemical reaction, or it'll actually eat at the aluminum. Then after that, take compressed air and blow out all the airways, all the holes, any possible way, everything to get it dry and clean. So this little help, not really that useful. This is very useful. A sonic cleaner also works very well on a nasty carburetor. What you do not want to do is a bead blaster. The abrasive, the sand, will actually eat at the holes, opening them up, destroying the exact precision to let too much air or too much fuel through and cause problems. I don't have a vapor blaster, which is the big thing to clean stuff now. I know guys are cleaning the outsides and they look beautiful. So if you have that technology, let me know if guys are cleaning the insides of carburetors with them and if there's any damage or any issues with it. I'm curious just to know. But I'm old, so I use old stuff like this. Okay, now let's put it back together. You want to use new needle and seat. Let your other one's in good shape. Put the needle on the float. Drop it down in, lining up your holes to get the pin in. And notice it doesn't go all the way easy. So it's a very light tap. Do not put it solid against the bench So you can drive it in way too far. Now we're going to set the float height. If the floats are too low, you'll actually run out of gas going fast down a straightaway, too deep, then it'll run too rich and you'll have issues. So you see the crack line or the pieces, and here. So we go at an angle and just go in till that float just kind of touches. You go all the way, it seals it up tight. So you gotta fight gravity here and find that sweet spot. We want to set her about 16 millimeter. Or whatever your manual says. There we are. And we're looking good. If it doesn't look good, you need to adjust it. You see the metal tab that the needle sits on? All you do is take a screwdriver, bend it up, or push it in. Small adjustment will be quite a bit here. So just a little bend of that tab, adjust your float height. All right, let's put the emulsion tube and main jet back in. Again, we don't want to damage our needle. So let's turn this, watch the needle disappear. And we'll crank her in and tighten it, not too tight. This is brass and aluminum, we don't want to go crazy. Now we can let our needle down. Flip her up, get our pilot jet. Start them by hand and go easy. Real easy to cross thread and damage, so be gentle. Just a little tweak. All right, some carburetors have just a little plastic piece at the bottom. A lot of times will actually be stuck on the emulsion tube or may even go under it. This one goes in the bottom of the bowl as such. New gasket. Slide her on. Put our screws back in, tightening in a crisscross pattern. So those are carburetor basics and basic tuning. We're not getting in any deeper because I was taught you don't know what you're doing, don't mess it up. So for the average guy, the average mechanic or guy learning, figuring it out, those are the 3 jets or 4 tuning things you want to play with. The pilot screw, the pilot jet, the main jet, and then the needle height. And the fancier the carburetor, the more tuning they're going to have, including these openings will have different sized jets in them. If you don't actually know what you're doing, do not touch. Just make sure they're all clean and clear and that the fuel and air can get through. Now on the choke operation. Push down here, choke comes up and down. Remove the screw here, and then we'll take the bolt out here. Alright, pull it out. You see, pulls it up, which then blocks ports in here, restricting airflow, causing a richer fuel condition, a richer fuel setting to start cold. Then we push it down, it opens it up and allows the air to travel through, leaning it back out for normal operation. That's how a choke works. This one's clean. Seems to function fine. Everything looks good. Everything looks open down there. So we're all set to put it back together. You may want to put some never cease grease on here, because they will get stuck and corroded and become big issues. Again, just snug. All right, we have our nice little D10 ball to deal with here, and putting a choke arm back on. So it goes right there. Hopefully it doesn't roll away on us. Line the back tabs back up. Screw back in. And test it. Half choke, full choke. Everything looks good. Everything works good. Wonderful. Now let's hook our accelerator pump back up. Put that on, hold it up with a new cotter pin. Dexterity and fingers at work. And push her through. And bend her tab over. And again, double check. Make sure everything works smooth. Yep. Pushing that lever down. Pumping that fuel. We're all set. We're clean. We're ready to go. It's time to put her back on the bike.